Have you ever experienced a lingering sense of unease or discomfort around someone, even without a clear reason? Or perhaps you've encountered individuals who seem to thrive on negativity, drama, and manipulation, leaving you feeling drained and emotionally depleted. In this video, we'll explore 9 evident signs of a toxic or harmful individual, providing you with the tools and understanding to protect your emotional, mental, and spiritual well-being. We'll delve deep into these destructive behaviors, combining ancient wisdom with practical advice, real-life stories, and actionable strategies to empower you in navigating life's complex interpersonal challenges. Recognizing these signs is the first step towards setting healthy boundaries and safeguarding your peace of mind. Before we dive in and explore these 9 crucial signs, we invite you to become part of our growing community. Don't forget to like this video if you find it valuable, subscribe to our channel for more insightful content, and share it with those who might benefit from this wisdom. Your support helps us spread positivity, awareness, and practical wisdom to others, creating a more supportive and understanding world. Let's begin with the first sign of a toxic individual. Sign 1. Pleasure in others' pain. A profound lack of empathy. One of the clearest indicators of toxic behavior is a tendency to find pleasure or amusement in the pain, struggles, or failures of others. This trait goes beyond simple insensitivity. It unveils a profound lack of empathy and often a deeply rooted insecurity or need for control. People who exhibit this behavior might mock others, find humor in their suffering, or even intentionally exacerbate their distress. While such actions can vary in intensity, they consistently erode trust and emotional safety in relationships. Why do they derive pleasure from pain? At its core, this behavior often stems from a distorted sense of self-worth. For some, seeing others falter provides a temporary boost to their own ego or an illusion of superiority. They might mask their insecurity with cruelty, using the pain of others as a tool to distract from their own shortcomings or to assert dominance. This lack of compassion may also reflect an inability or unwillingness to connect with others on a meaningful emotional level. Instead of acknowledging someone else's humanity, they objectify and exploit their vulnerability for personal gain or entertainment. Examples of manifestation in everyday life: mockery. During vulnerable moments, a colleague laughing at someone's mistake during a meeting, rather than offering guidance or support. Spreading gossip to create chaos. A person sharing private or false information to watch the fallout, thriving on the drama and hurt caused. Subtle undermining. Using backhanded compliments, sarcastic comments, or passive-aggressive remarks to diminish someone's confidence or achievements. Actively sabotaging success. Intentionally creating obstacles for others, such as withholding crucial information or providing misleading advice to ensure their failure. Let me share a more vivid example to illustrate this behavior. In a college class, there was a group project requiring collaboration and mutual trust. One student, eager to appear indispensable, began subtly spreading misinformation about a teammate's work ethic and intentions. This led to heightened mistrust among the group members and unnecessary stress for the accused teammate. The individual behind the rumors seemed to revel in the discord, often making sarcastic comments to intensify the conflict. As the project faltered, it became clear that this individual prioritized personal amusement and manipulation over the group's success. This toxic behavior not only jeopardized the team's dynamic, but left the targeted teammate emotionally drained and disheartened. The absence of empathy erodes the foundation of healthy relationships. Without it, interactions become transactional and manipulative, leaving emotional scars on those affected. Here are some key takeaways for dealing with such individuals. Recognize the behavior early. Be vigilant about patterns of mockery, manipulation, or a general disregard for others' feelings. Set clear boundaries. Politely but firmly distance yourself from those who exhibit toxic tendencies. Establish clear limits to prevent their behavior from impacting your mental well-being. Prioritize empathy in your own life. Surround yourself with individuals who demonstrate compassion, understanding, and genuine care. Foster relationships rooted in mutual respect and kindness. Seek support when necessary. If you find yourself entangled with someone who delights in others' pain, don't hesitate to seek guidance or support from trusted friends, mentors, or professionals. By recognizing and addressing this harmful behavior, you not only protect yourself, but also contribute to a more empathetic and understanding environment for others. Empathy isn't just a virtue, it's a vital component of strong and meaningful connections. Sign 2. The need to control. Manipulating for personal gain. Toxic individuals often exhibit a deep-seated need for control, driven by insecurities, a fear of vulnerability, and a lack of trust. This need manifests in their relationships and environments, as they seek to dominate those around them to maintain a sense of power and predictability. At its core, the desire to control stems from an internal fear. Fear of rejection, fear of failure, or fear of unpredictability. Control provides a semblance of stability for these individuals, allowing them to avoid confronting their vulnerabilities. Key characteristics of control-oriented behaviors. Micromanagement. Often seen in workplace dynamics, this behavior manifests when leaders obsessively monitor tasks, refusing to delegate or trust their team. Overbearing care. In personal relationships, control might initially appear as concern or attentiveness, but it quickly evolves into unsolicited advice, imposed decisions, or even isolation from others. Power plays. Control-driven individuals may use calculated tactics to maintain dominance. This includes guilt, shaming, withholding affection, or even creating chaos to keep others dependent on them. Undermining autonomy, they might dismiss others' feelings, downplay achievements, or overrule personal decisions to maintain their influence. Manipulation tactics, how control manifests. To exert control, toxic individuals often employ subtle yet damaging strategies such as guilt tripping, making others feel ungrateful or selfish for asserting their independence. Example, after all I've done for you, this is how you repay me. Emotional blackmail, exploiting sensitive information to manipulate outcomes. Example, if you don't do this, you'll ruin everything we've built. Isolation, restricting interactions with friends or family to ensure dependency. Example, I don't think your friends have your best interests at heart. Constant monitoring, demanding constant updates or invading privacy under the guise of care. Example, if you have nothing to hide, why can't I check your messages? Example story, the suffocating relationship. Consider the journey of a woman, Lily, whose partner exhibited a compulsive need for control. At first, his behavior seemed caring. He would ask about her day, offer advice, and even surprise her by handling errands she hadn't requested. But soon, red flags emerged. Excessive monitoring. He began calling multiple times daily, questioning her whereabouts and who she was with. Decision overreach. He started choosing her outfits, disapproving of her friends, and steering her career choices. Emotional manipulation. When confronted, he would insist his actions were for her own good and accuse her of being ungrateful. The turning point came when Lily realized her own identity and independence were slipping away. After seeking support from friends and counseling, she mustered the courage to set boundaries. She firmly stated her right to make her own decisions. Rebuild independence. She resumed hobbies, reconnected with loved ones, and focused on personal growth. End the relationship. Realizing her partner's unwillingness to change, she chose her well-being over the toxic dynamic. Breaking free, recognizing and responding to control signs of a controlling relationship. Feeling suffocated, monitored, or judged. Having decisions constantly questioned or overridden. Experiencing guilt, shame, or fear as tools of manipulation. Steps to reclaim freedom. Awareness. Acknowledge the controlling behaviors without blaming yourself. Communicate. Express your concerns clearly and assertively. Set boundaries. Define what behaviors are acceptable and enforce consequences for violations. Seek support. Talk to trusted friends, family, or professionals to build confidence and gain perspective. The foundation of healthy relationships. At the heart of any healthy relationship lies mutual respect and trust. Partners, friends, or colleagues should empower one another, not dominate or manipulate. A thriving relationship is marked by independence. Each person retains their individuality and autonomy. Open communication. Differences are addressed respectfully, without fear of retaliation. Trust. Both parties feel secure without the need for constant validation or control. Empowering yourself to resist toxic control. Understanding the signs of a controlling relationship equips you to protect your sense of self. Life is too precious to be dominated by another's insecurities. By prioritizing your well-being, setting boundaries, and nurturing connections built on equality, you reclaim your freedom and create space for authentic, fulfilling relationships. Sign 3. A strange feeling in their presence. Honoring your intuition. Our intuition is an incredibly powerful and often overlooked tool. It acts as a radar, scanning the environment for subtle cues and providing us with insights that we may not consciously recognize. When we feel a strange feeling or unease in someone's presence, it is our intuition trying to communicate with us. This sign highlights the significance of trusting your instincts and the ways in which these intuitive feelings can serve as valuable guides in understanding others and protecting yourself. Trusting your instincts, recognizing subtle red flags. Human instincts have evolved over thousands of years to help us survive. Long before humans could rely on logic and reasoning, we depended on our ability to sense danger and navigate complex social dynamics. Today, these instincts continue to serve us, even in situations that are not life-threatening. A strange feeling often arises from subtle cues, a fleeting facial expression, an unusual tone of voice, or even body language that seems incongruent with spoken words. While these cues may not be immediately obvious, our subconscious mind processes them and sends us warning signals. This could manifest as a tightening in the stomach, a sense of discomfort, or an inexplicable urge to distance yourself from a particular individual. Dismissing these feelings can leave you vulnerable to harm or manipulation, whereas honoring them can be a first step toward self-protection. Research into human psychology and neuroscience has shown that our brains are remarkably adept at processing vast amounts of information in the background. This processing happens so quickly that we are often unaware of it. Known as thin slicing, this phenomenon allows our subconscious to make judgments based on minimal data. For example, when you meet someone for the first time and feel uneasy, your subconscious might have picked up on microexpressions or inconsistencies that suggest dishonesty or hostility. These feelings may not always have a clear rational explanation, but they are nonetheless significant. To understand the value of intuition, consider a real-life example. Imagine attending a family reunion where you meet a distant relative for the first time. This individual behaves politely, asks thoughtful questions, and engages in conversation. However, you cannot shake the feeling that something is off. As the evening progresses, you notice that conversations around this person become stilted. Laughter fades when they join a group, and the overall atmosphere seems heavier. While no one says anything negative, the collective unease is palpable. Reflecting on this later, you may recognize that your initial gut feeling was an accurate assessment of the subtle tension they brought into the room. It might stem from their past behavior, unspoken conflicts, or a personality trait that subtly disrupts the group's harmony. By acknowledging these feelings, you honor your intuition and become more attuned to the dynamics around you. Common scenarios where intuition plays a role. 1. Meeting new people. First impressions are often influenced by intuition. You may instantly feel comfortable around someone or, conversely, sense an underlying unease. Trust these feelings as your subconscious mind's way of evaluating the person's energy and intentions. Number 2. Workplace dynamics. Have you ever worked with a colleague who seemed pleasant on the surface, but left you feeling drained or uneasy? These feelings might indicate subtle manipulations or underlying conflicts that are not immediately obvious. 3. Social events. In gatherings, there are often individuals whose presence changes the room's atmosphere. If someone's energy feels off, your intuition might be picking up on factors like unresolved tension or ulterior motives. 4. Romantic relationships. Intuition is especially crucial in relationships. If you feel uneasy about a partner's behavior, even if you cannot pinpoint why, it's worth exploring those feelings. Many people later realize their initial doubts were early signs of incompatibility or toxicity. 5. Online interactions. In today's digital age, intuition extends to online spaces. If you feel uncomfortable during a virtual meeting or sense something off about a social media profile, your instincts might be alerting you to inconsistencies or potential dangers. Honoring your intuition. Practical steps. Acknowledge your feelings. When you sense discomfort or unease, resist the urge to dismiss it. Instead, Take a moment to identify what you are feeling and why it might be occurring. Observe and reflect. Pay attention to the person's behavior and interactions with others. Look for patterns or subtle cues that could explain your gut feeling. Seek input from others. Sometimes discussing your feelings with trusted friends or family members can provide additional perspectives. They might confirm your observations or help you interpret the dynamics at play. Trust but verify. While intuition is valuable, it should not replace rational analysis. Use it as a starting point to gather more information and evaluate the situation objectively. Set boundaries. If your intuition warns you about someone's behavior, it's okay to establish boundaries or limit your interactions with them. Prioritizing your well-being is always important. Consider the story of Sarah, a marketing professional who joined a new team. On her first day, she met her manager, who was outwardly friendly and welcoming. However, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that there was something disingenuous about their demeanor. Over the next few weeks, she noticed subtle inconsistencies. The manager would praise her in meetings but criticize her work in private, often in ways that felt undermining. Sarah decided to trust her gut and document these interactions. When a major conflict arose, she had evidence to support her concerns, which ultimately helped her address the issue with HR. By honoring her intuition, Sarah protected herself from a potentially harmful work environment. Some people believe that intuition is tied to the energy or vibrations we emit and receive. This perspective suggests that everyone carries a unique energy signature, which others can sense on a subconscious level. When someone's energy feels incongruent or disruptive, it may trigger feelings of unease. Whether you view this through a spiritual lens or a psychological one, the principle remains the same. Paying attention to the energy you feel around others can provide valuable insights. One common barrier to trusting your intuition is the fear of being judgmental. Many people dismiss their gut feelings because they worry about being unfair or making baseless assumptions. However, honoring your intuition does not mean passing judgment. It simply means acknowledging your feelings and using them as a guide for further exploration. Remember, your intuition is a protective mechanism, not a tool for criticizing others. Honoring your intuition is about embracing your inner wisdom and recognizing the value of the subtle cues your mind processes. While it's essential to balance intuition with rational analysis, ignoring these feelings can leave you vulnerable to negative influences. By trusting your instincts, observing your surroundings, and taking proactive steps to protect yourself, you can navigate social dynamics with greater confidence and clarity. Intuition is a gift that, when honored, can lead to deeper self-awareness and more fulfilling relationships. Sign 4. Lack of responsibility, deflecting blame and manipulating situations. Toxic individuals often exhibit a marked tendency to avoid taking responsibility for their actions, instead resorting to deflection, blame shifting, and manipulation to evade accountability. This behavior not only shields them from immediate repercussions, but also perpetuates harm to others and damages relationships. Let us delve deeper into this sign, examining its manifestations, impacts, and strategies for dealing with such behavior. Harmful or toxic individuals rarely own up to their mistakes or shortcomings. Instead of acknowledging their role in negative situations, they habitually deflect blame onto others or manipulate circumstances to appear innocent. Here are some common tactics they employ. Blame shifting. When confronted with a mistake or failure, these individuals redirect attention to someone else. They might accuse others of incompetence, negligence, or malice to obscure their own involvement. Minimization of actions. They downplay the severity of their actions, making it seem as if the issue is insignificant or overblown. Phrases like, "It wasn't that big of a deal," or "You're overreacting," are common. Excuses and rationalizations. Toxic individuals craft elaborate justifications for their behavior. These excuses are often designed to shift the focus away from their responsibility. Distortion of reality. They may manipulate facts or events, retelling incidents in a way that casts them as the victim or hero while vilifying others. Playing the victim. By portraying themselves as unfairly targeted or misunderstood, they gain sympathy and deflect accountability. Emotional manipulation. They might employ guilt, fear, or pity to control others and avoid taking responsibility. The psychology behind deflection and manipulation. This behavior is often rooted in insecurity and a fragile ego. Acknowledging their mistakes might threaten their self-image, so they go to great lengths to maintain an illusion of perfection. This defense mechanism helps them protect their self-esteem, but comes at a cost to their relationships and environment. By deflecting blame, they avoid immediate consequences, but their refusal to take accountability creates long-term trust issues and resentment. In a previous job, I worked with a colleague named Alex who epitomized this behavior. Alex was charming and articulate, which initially made him a well-liked member of the team. However, his true nature surfaced whenever challenges arose. A missed deadline. On one occasion, Alex was responsible for overseeing a critical project with a tight deadline. When the deadline was missed, instead of admitting his oversight, he quickly blamed the team members for not communicating effectively and the client for changing requirements at the last minute. Twisting narratives. In team meetings, Alex often rewrote events to suit his narrative. For instance, if a suggestion he had rejected earlier turned out to be valid, he would claim he had always supported it or misremember events to place himself in a positive light. Creating a toxic environment. This pattern of behavior fostered mistrust and resentment among colleagues. People became reluctant to collaborate with Alex, knowing that they might be scapegoated if something went wrong. Productivity and morale suffered, and the work environment became increasingly toxic. Resolution. Eventually, several team members documented their experiences and presented them to management. This collective approach highlighted the pattern of behavior, prompting management to take action. While it was a challenging process, confronting the issue head-on improved team dynamics and restored accountability within the workplace. When individuals consistently evade accountability, it affects their relationships and environment in profound ways. Breakdown of trust. Trust is eroded when someone repeatedly refuses to own their mistakes. Relationships, whether personal or professional, rely on mutual accountability. Resentment and frustration. The blame shifting and manipulation foster resentment, especially among those who are unfairly targeted or burdened. Stunted growth. By refusing to acknowledge their mistakes, toxic individuals miss opportunities for self-improvement and growth. Negative ripple effects. Their behavior often leads to a hostile or unproductive environment, affecting everyone involved. Emotional toll. Those who interact with such individuals may experience stress, anxiety, or self-doubt as a result of the constant manipulation and deflection. When encountering someone who deflects blame or manipulates situations, it's essential to protect yourself and address the issue effectively. Here are some strategies. 1. Recognize the behavior. Understanding the signs of deflection and manipulation can help you identify the behavior early. This awareness allows you to respond thoughtfully rather than react emotionally. 2. Set clear boundaries. Establishing boundaries is crucial. Clearly communicate what behavior is unacceptable and stick to your boundaries to prevent further manipulation. 3. Document instances. Keep a record of specific incidents, including dates, times, and details. This documentation can be invaluable if you need to escalate the issue to a higher authority or confront the individual. 4. Stay assertive. When addressing the issue, be direct and assertive. Use I statements to express your perspective without sounding accusatory. For example, I felt undermined when the blame for the project's delay was placed on me. 5. Involve a third party. If the behavior persists and significantly impacts the environment, involve a neutral third party such as a manager, HR representative, or mediator to address the issue constructively. 6. Protect your well-being. Dealing with toxic individuals can be draining. Prioritize your mental and emotional health by seeking support from friends, family, or a therapist. 7. Know when to walk away. In some cases, the best course of action may be to distance yourself from the toxic individual. If their behavior is irreparable and consistently harmful, removing yourself from the situation may be the healthiest choice. Accountability, the foundation of trust and healthy relationships. Accountability is the cornerstone of trust and effective relationships. It reflects integrity, honesty, and a willingness to grow. In contrast, a lack of responsibility undermines trust, damages communication, and breeds resentment. Recognizing this trait in others is crucial for safeguarding your well-being and fostering positive interactions. When faced with someone who consistently deflects blame or manipulates situations, it is important to stand firm in your perspective, set and enforce clear boundaries, protect yourself from being scapegoated. Ultimately, addressing this behavior, whether through direct confrontation, documentation, or seeking external support, is essential for maintaining a healthy and accountable environment. By taking these steps, you not only protect yourself, but also contribute to a culture of integrity and mutual respect. Sign 5. Habitual lying, a foundation built on deceit. Habitual lying represents one of the most telling signs of toxic individuals. This pervasive behavior undermines trust, poisons relationships, and creates a barrier to authentic connection. Toxic individuals who engage in habitual lying often use deceit as a primary tool to manipulate, evade responsibility, or fulfill self-serving agendas. Weaving falsehoods, the gradual erosion of trust. Deceptive individuals rely heavily on lying as their default mode of communication. These lies can manifest in various forms: small exaggerations, inflating minor details to appear more impressive or conceal vulnerabilities; omissions of truth, leaving out critical information to mislead or manipulate others; elaborate fabrications, creating entirely false narratives about events, relationships, or achievements. At first glance, these lies might seem inconsequential or even harmless. However, when lying becomes a habit, it corrodes the foundation of trust that underpins healthy relationships. Over time, these patterns reveal themselves in the form of inconsistencies, contradictions, and a noticeable disconnect between the individual's words and actions. For habitual liars, deception often becomes second nature. They develop a knack for crafting intricate stories that serve to control perception, manipulate how others view them, often to mask insecurities or misdeeds; maintain advantage, stay in a position of power by keeping others in the dark; avoid accountability, evade blame or scrutiny by fabricating excuses or shifting responsibility. This continual weaving of falsehoods creates a toxic environment where trust cannot thrive. In relationships, whether personal or professional, the persistent absence of honesty leads to feelings of betrayal, confusion, and emotional exhaustion. Personal experiences often highlight the devastating impact of habitual lying. One such example involves a close friendship that deteriorated due to a friend's pattern of deceit. During our childhood, my friend's excuses for skipping events or avoiding responsibilities seemed reasonable. She would claim illness, unexpected family obligations, or last-minute emergencies. At first, I sympathized and supported her, trusting the validity of her words. Over time, her excuses became increasingly elaborate and less credible. For instance, she once claimed her car had broken down on the way to an important gathering, yet later photos surfaced of her at a completely different event that same day. Another time, she attributed her absence to a family emergency, only for mutual friends to reveal she had been shopping. The breaking point came when she fabricated a story about being hospitalized. Deeply concerned, I reached out to check on her well-being. Instead of gratitude, she reacted defensively, accusing me of invading her privacy. When I discovered through mutual acquaintances that her hospitalization was entirely fictitious, I felt betrayed and disrespected. This pattern of habitual lying eroded the trust we had built over years. What once felt like a genuine friendship became a source of stress and suspicion. Eventually, I chose to distance myself, recognizing that her deceitful behavior was incompatible with a healthy relationship. This experience underscored the critical importance of honesty. It also taught me to recognize red flags early and to set firm boundaries with individuals who exhibit patterns of deception. The psychological roots of habitual lying. Understanding why some individuals resort to habitual lying can offer valuable insights. While each case is unique, common underlying factors include insecurity, lying to cover perceived inadequacies or to present an idealized version of oneself; fear of consequences, avoiding accountability or punishment by concealing the truth; manipulative tendencies, using deception as a tool to exert control over others; pathological lying, a compulsive behavior rooted in deeper psychological issues such as narcissistic or antisocial personality disorders; While understanding these motivations can foster empathy, it is crucial to prioritize your own emotional well-being when dealing with habitual liars. Reflection. Honesty as a non-negotiable value. Honesty serves as the cornerstone of healthy, meaningful relationships. It fosters trust, the assurance that one's words and actions align. Respect. Mutual appreciation for transparency and integrity. Authenticity, the ability to connect deeply without fear of betrayal. When honesty is absent, relationships deteriorate into superficial or transactional interactions. Dealing with habitual liars often leads to feelings of suspicion, constantly questioning the veracity of their words, frustration, exhaustion from navigating a web of deceit, emotional strain, a lack of security and stability in the relationship. If you encounter someone who habitually lies, consider the following steps. Address the behavior. Communicate your observations and concerns openly, offering them an opportunity to change. Set clear limits. Define what behaviors you will and will not tolerate. Protect yourself. If the lying persists, prioritize your emotional health by limiting or ending the relationship. Choosing integrity in relationships. Surrounding yourself with honest individuals is vital for maintaining emotional well-being. Seek relationships that embody transparency, open communication without hidden agendas. Consistency. Words and actions that align over time. Mutual respect. A shared commitment to honesty and integrity. By valuing honesty and setting firm boundaries, you create an environment where trust can flourish and meaningful connections can thrive. Habitual lying is more than a mere character flaw. It is a destructive behavior that undermines the very fabric of trust and connection. Recognizing the signs of deceit and understanding its impact empowers you to make informed choices about the relationships you nurture. Remember, honesty is not just a virtue, it is a necessity for building and sustaining healthy, authentic, and fulfilling relationships. Sign 6. Absence of remorse. A lack of accountability and empathy. This sign highlights a defining characteristic of toxic individuals, the absence of remorse or genuine regret for their harmful actions. This lack of remorse reflects an underlying lack of empathy and an inability to truly understand or care about the impact of their behavior on others. By understanding this behavior, we can better recognize and respond to it in our personal and professional relationships. Lack of empathy, distorting reality to avoid accountability. Individuals who lack remorse often exhibit behaviors that go beyond mere negligence. They actively avoid taking responsibility for their actions, as discussed in Sign 4, but also fail to demonstrate any genuine regret or empathy for the harm they cause. Their apologies, if offered, are superficial and devoid of true feeling. They minimize the impact of their actions, distort reality to justify their behavior, and often portray themselves as victims. This distortion may involve blaming others, making excuses, or outright denying wrongdoing. This absence of remorse stems from a deeply ingrained sense of self-preservation and a hardened ego that prioritizes self-interest above all else. For these individuals, acknowledging their flaws or shortcomings feels like a threat to their identity. They construct an internal narrative that exonerates them from blame and shields them from discomfort. By refusing to confront their actions honestly, they undermine the possibility of personal growth and genuine connection with others. Behavioral patterns, the signs to watch. Superficial apologies. These individuals might say the right words, but their tone, timing, and lack of follow-through reveal their insincerity. Minimization of harm. They downplay the severity of their actions, often suggesting that others are overreacting. Blame shifting. Rather than taking responsibility, they redirect fault to others, including the very people they have hurt. Denial of wrongdoing. Even when confronted with evidence, they refuse to acknowledge their role in a problem. Victim mentality. They recast themselves as the injured party, seeking sympathy instead of accountability. To illustrate this point, consider a personal experience involving a community event I organized. I dedicated significant time and effort to planning and executing this event, only to have a neighbor who contributed minimally take full credit for its success. This individual presented themselves as the sole organizer, garnering praise and recognition that was unwarranted. When I confronted them, they offered no apology or acknowledgement of my efforts. Instead, they provided a series of excuses, minimized my contributions, and reframed the situation to their advantage. This interaction was frustrating, but also enlightening. It highlighted the futility of expecting genuine remorse from someone who lacks empathy and accountability. Instead of dwelling on their behavior, I focused on the intrinsic satisfaction derived from my work and the positive impact it had on the community. Interacting with someone who lacks remorse can be emotionally draining. Their refusal to acknowledge harm or take responsibility can leave others feeling invalidated and unimportant. This dynamic often leads to a toxic cycle where the harmed party seeks validation or closure that the other is incapable of providing. Emotional reactions to expect. Frustration. The lack of acknowledgement can create feelings of anger and helplessness. Self-doubt. Victims may question whether their feelings are justified or if they are to blame. Resentment. Over time, unresolved grievances can lead to bitterness. Emotional exhaustion. Constantly seeking accountability from someone unwilling to provide it can be mentally and emotionally draining. Remorse as a catalyst for growth. Genuine remorse is a cornerstone of personal growth and healthy relationships. It allows individuals to acknowledge their mistakes, learn from them, and make amends. The absence of remorse, however, indicates a hardened ego, a lack of self-awareness, and an unwillingness to take responsibility. The role of remorse in personal growth. Acknowledgement of mistakes. Remorse encourages honest self-reflection. Learning and improvement. By recognizing their errors, individuals can take steps to avoid repeating them. Rebuilding trust. Genuine apologies and efforts to make amends strengthen relationships. Emotional healing. For both parties, remorse paves the way for closure and mutual understanding. While it's important to approach these individuals with compassion and understanding, protecting your own well-being must take priority. Here are strategies to safeguard yourself. 1. Set clear boundaries. Clearly define what behaviors you will and will not tolerate. Communicate these boundaries firmly and consistently. For example, if someone repeatedly refuses to acknowledge their harmful actions, limit your interactions or avoid situations where you might be vulnerable to their behavior. 2. Focus on self-validation. Rely on your own sense of worth and accomplishment rather than seeking validation from someone incapable of providing it. Celebrate your achievements privately or with trusted individuals who appreciate your efforts. 3. Seek support. Share your experiences with friends, family, or a therapist who can provide perspective and emotional support. This can help counteract feelings of isolation and self-doubt. 4. Practice self-care. Engage in activities that nurture your mental, emotional, and physical well-being. Whether it's through exercise, hobbies, or mindfulness practices, prioritize your health and happiness. 5. Accept limitations. Recognize that you cannot change someone who refuses to take accountability for their actions. Accepting this reality can free you from the frustration of unmet expectations. Building relationships with accountability and empathy. The absence of remorse in toxic individuals highlights the importance of surrounding yourself with people who value honesty, accountability, and empathy. Healthy relationships are built on mutual respect and a willingness to address and resolve conflicts constructively. Key qualities of healthy relationships. Open communication. Both parties feel comfortable expressing their thoughts and feelings. Mutual respect. Differences are acknowledged and valued. Shared accountability. Mistakes are admitted and addressed openly. Empathy. Both parties strive to understand and support each other's perspectives. By fostering these qualities in your relationships, you can create a supportive network that enhances your well-being and resilience. Understanding the absence of remorse as a hallmark of toxic behavior is crucial for navigating relationships effectively. Recognizing this trait enables you to establish healthy boundaries, protect your emotional well-being, and focus on relationships that foster growth and mutual respect. While it's natural to hope for change in others, true growth begins with prioritizing your own happiness and surrounding yourself with people who value and reciprocate accountability and empathy. Sign 7. Open cruelty, masking malice in jokes or hostility. Open cruelty, as a clear indicator of a toxic individual, manifests in various forms, ranging from subtle jabs hidden in humor to overt hostility and aggression. It often reveals itself through patterns of behavior designed to harm, belittle, or intimidate others. Recognizing this behavior is the first step towards safeguarding your emotional well-being and fostering environments that prioritize kindness and respect. Masking malice, diminishing and controlling through cruelty. Many toxic individuals attempt to disguise their malicious intent by cloaking it in humor or seemingly innocuous comments. These individuals use sarcasm, ridicule, or outright put-downs under the pretense of making a joke. Their goal? To deflect criticism and avoid accountability while simultaneously undermining the self-esteem and confidence of their targets. Such behavior often stems from deeper psychological issues. It may arise from unresolved insecurities, unchecked anger, or a fundamental lack of empathy. By disguising their cruelty as humor, they achieve a dual purpose, diminishing their target's confidence and maintaining a sense of power or control over them. Forms of open cruelty. Sarcastic humor. Disguised insults delivered in a way that makes it difficult for the target to confront the perpetrator without seeming overly sensitive. Example: "Wow, you actually did something right for once. Must be a miracle." Ridicule and put-downs. Comments aimed at belittling the target, often in public settings to maximize humiliation. Example: "Why would you even try? That's not your thing." Hostile behavior. Direct verbal attacks or physical aggression aimed at intimidating or harming the target. Example: yelling, name-calling, or threatening physical harm. Passive-aggressive comments. Veiled negativity expressed through backhanded compliments or subtle jabs. Example: "I'm amazed you managed to pull that off. I wouldn't have expected it from you." During my school years, I encountered a peer whose primary form of interaction involved ridiculing others under the guise of humor. Their sarcastic comments often targeted people's appearance, intelligence, or personal struggles. Delivered with a laugh or a playful tone, these remarks seemed harmless to onlookers. However, for those on the receiving end, the words cut deep, leaving emotional scars that lingered long after the moment had passed. One day, this individual's target was a classmate who struggled with public speaking. As the classmate nervously presented in front of the class, the peer made loud, mocking comments, imitating their stutter. The room erupted in laughter, but the presenter's face showed only pain and humiliation. Years later, I reflected on this experience and realized the importance of standing up against such behavior and rejecting cruelty in all its forms. Understanding why individuals resort to cruelty can help in addressing and countering such behavior. Insecurity. Many toxic individuals project their insecurities onto others as a way of deflecting attention from their own flaws. Unresolved anger. Anger or frustration that has not been addressed healthily can manifest as hostility toward others. Lack of empathy. A fundamental inability or unwillingness to understand and share the feelings of others often leads to behavior that disregards the emotional well-being of others. Desire for control. By diminishing others, they feel a sense of superiority and control over their environment. Kindness, often misunderstood as a sign of weakness, is a profound strength. It takes courage, emotional intelligence, and self-awareness to choose compassion over cruelty, especially in challenging situations. By rejecting cruelty and embracing kindness, you create a ripple effect, promoting positivity and understanding in your interactions. Setting boundaries. Firmly address and reject toxic behavior. For instance, if someone's humor becomes hurtful, calmly state, "That comment isn't funny, it's hurtful." Empowering others. Be an ally to those targeted by cruelty. Supporting them helps to counteract the negative impact of toxic behavior. Modeling positive behavior. Lead by example. Treat others with respect, empathy, and understanding, demonstrating the strength of kindness in action. Counteracting cruelty. Practical strategies. Identify toxic patterns. Recognize recurring behaviors that aim to belittle or harm. Awareness is the first step toward change. Foster open communication. Address toxic behavior directly and constructively, emphasizing its impact. Seek support. Reach out to trusted friends, family, or professionals when dealing with toxic individuals. Cultivate empathy. Encourage understanding and compassion in your community to create a buffer against toxicity. The broader impact of kindness. Acts of kindness can transform environments, fostering collaboration, trust, and mutual respect. By rejecting cruelty and prioritizing empathy, individuals contribute to creating safer and more supportive spaces for everyone. Even small acts, like a kind word or a supportive gesture, can counteract negativity and inspire positive change. Recognizing and addressing open cruelty is essential for personal growth and community well-being. By understanding the motivations behind toxic behavior and countering it with kindness and strength, you empower yourself and others to thrive in a more compassionate and respectful world. Let kindness be your guiding principle, transforming challenges into opportunities for connection and growth. Sign 8. Warnings from loved ones, trusting the insights of those who care. This sign emphasizes the importance of paying attention to warnings or concerns expressed by loved ones about certain individuals in your life. Those closest to you often have a clearer perspective and can sense toxicity or manipulative tendencies before you do, especially when your own judgment might be clouded by emotions or wishful thinking. The value of external perspective. Sensing toxicity before you do. When we are emotionally involved with someone, whether in a romantic relationship, a friendship, or even a professional association, it can be difficult to see the situation objectively. Our own emotions, hopes, and desires can cloud our judgment and make us blind to red flags or warning signs. This is where the perspective of trusted loved ones becomes invaluable. Those who care about us deeply and have our best interests at heart often have a clearer view of the situation and can sense toxicity or manipulative behavior that we might be overlooking. They are not as emotionally invested and can therefore offer a more objective and unbiased assessment. Psychological basis. Why we miss red flags. Our brains are wired to seek connection and affirmation, which often makes us prioritize emotional bonds over logical assessments. Cognitive biases, such as the halo effect, can cause us to overlook flaws in someone we admire. Additionally, emotional investment can trigger a form of denial where we subconsciously ignore evidence that contradicts our idealized view of the person. This is why the opinions of external observers, who are free from these biases, are so critical. Example story: the cousin's caution and the subsequent realization. A personal experience illustrates the importance of heeding these warnings. I once met someone new and was initially quite impressed by their charm and charisma. However, a cousin, who had observed our interactions from a more detached perspective, expressed some concerns about their manipulative tendencies. Initially, I was dismissive of my cousin's caution, attributing it to overprotectiveness or a misunderstanding. However, as time passed and I had more opportunities to observe this person's behavior, I began to see the truth in my cousin's words. I witnessed firsthand how they manipulated situations and people to their own advantage, confirming the validity of my cousin's initial assessment. This experience taught me to value the insights of those who care about me, even when their opinions initially seem unfounded or overly critical. It underscored the importance of maintaining an open mind and being willing to reassess situations based on new information. Patterns of manipulative behavior, what loved ones might notice. Control tactics. Loved ones may notice that a person consistently tries to dominate conversations, make decisions for you, or isolate you from other relationships. Inconsistent behavior. They might pick up on discrepancies between the individual's words and actions, highlighting potential dishonesty or ulterior motives. Subtle put-downs. Observers may detect veiled insults or undermining comments disguised as jokes, which you might overlook due to emotional attachment. Exploitation. Those who care about you may notice patterns where the individual takes advantage of your kindness, resources, or trust. While it's crucial to value the perspective and insights of loved ones, it's also important to remember that they are offering their interpretation based on their own experiences and perceptions. It's essential to balance their advice with your own observations and experiences. Take their concerns seriously, reflect on them thoughtfully, and look for evidence that supports or contradicts their assessment. Ultimately, you are responsible for making your own decisions and navigating your own relationships. However, by being open to the insights of those who care about you, you can gain valuable perspective and avoid potentially harmful situations. Techniques for incorporating loved ones' insights. Active listening. When someone expresses concerns, listen without interrupting or dismissing their perspective. Ask questions to understand their observations fully. Reflective journaling. Write down the warnings and your initial thoughts. Reflect on whether you've noticed any similar patterns or behaviors. Independent verification. Look for objective evidence that aligns with or contradicts their concerns. This might include observing the individual's behavior in various contexts. Seek a second opinion. If you're uncertain, consult another trusted friend or family member for their perspective. Multiple viewpoints can provide clarity. The role of emotional maturity. Understanding and accepting loved ones' warnings require emotional maturity. This involves setting aside ego, being open to feedback, and recognizing that those who care about us are not trying to control our decisions, but to protect us from harm. Developing this level of maturity allows us to view their insights as a form of love and support, rather than interference. It's natural to feel defensive when someone criticizes a person you care about. However, defensiveness often stems from fear or insecurity. By acknowledging these emotions, you can move past them and evaluate the warning with a clearer mind. Practicing mindfulness and emotional regulation techniques can help reduce defensiveness and promote open-mindedness. When warnings are unfounded. Navigating false alarms. Not all warnings from loved ones are accurate. People can misjudge situations based on their own biases, experiences, or misunderstandings. In these cases, it's important to respectfully acknowledge their concerns, show appreciation for their care, even if you disagree. Clarify misunderstandings, provide additional context or information to address any misconceptions. Maintain open communication, keep the dialogue ongoing, allowing them to voice concerns, and you to share observations over time. Building a supportive network, the foundation of trust. Having a supportive network of friends and family creates an environment where open and honest communication thrives. Foster these relationships by expressing gratitude. Regularly thank your loved ones for their care and support. Reciprocating support. Be there for them when they face challenges or need advice. Encouraging openness. Create a safe space for them to share their thoughts without fear of judgment or rejection. The warnings and insights of loved ones are a precious gift, offering a perspective that can protect us from harm and guide us toward healthier relationships. By balancing their advice with our own experiences, we can navigate life's complexities with greater wisdom and confidence. Ultimately, trusting the instincts of those who care about us while maintaining our autonomy is a powerful way to safeguard our well-being and foster deeper connections with the people who truly matter. Sign 9. Contempt and belittlement. A strategy of diminishment and control. Contempt and belittlement are insidious behaviors that extend beyond simple disagreement or constructive criticism. They represent a deliberate strategy to degrade, diminish, and exert control over another individual. These toxic tactics undermine confidence, foster dependency, and are tools of emotional manipulation and abuse. The nature of contempt, a poisonous expression of superiority. Contempt often manifests as a combination of verbal and nonverbal cues that express disdain, disgust, or a perceived sense of superiority. Unlike occasional criticism, which can be constructive, contempt is rooted in the intent to harm. It communicates to the target that their ideas, opinions, or very existence are unworthy of respect. This behavior can be observed in sarcasm, mocking laughter, dismissive gestures, eye-rolling, and condescending language. When expressed consistently, contempt becomes a weapon to erode the target's self-esteem and establish a power dynamic that favors the toxic individual. Contempt as a tool of control, eroding confidence and fostering dependency. The primary objective of contempt and belittlement is to create a sense of inferiority in the target, leaving them dependent on the toxic individual for validation or approval. This tactic is highly effective because it undermines the target's ability to trust their own judgment and reinforces a cycle of self-doubt. Over time, this can result in emotional dependency. The target begins to rely on the toxic individual for a sense of worth, approval, or validation, even as they are consistently belittled. Eroded confidence. The target's belief in their abilities, opinions, and value is systematically stripped away. Isolation. As the target's self-esteem diminishes, they may withdraw from supportive relationships, further deepening their dependency on the toxic person. This manipulation creates an imbalance of power, with the toxic individual asserting dominance and control over their target. Real-world examples. Recognizing contempt in action. Example 1. The belittling partner. In personal relationships, contempt can be particularly damaging. For example, consider a partner who regularly belittles their significant other's choices, interests, or abilities. Phrases like, "You're so bad at this," or "I can't believe you thought that would work," are common. These remarks, often accompanied by sarcastic laughter or dismissive gestures, serve to undermine the target's confidence. Over time, the belittled partner may feel inadequate and become increasingly reliant on the contemptuous individual for approval and decision-making. Example 2. The mocking boss. In a professional setting, contempt can manifest as a boss who systematically mocks their employees. Suggestions during meetings. For instance, a team member might propose an idea only to be met with sarcastic remarks or exaggerated expressions of disdain. These behaviors create a culture of fear and self-doubt, stifling creativity and innovation. Employees may become reluctant to contribute, fearing ridicule and rejection, which ultimately benefits the toxic leader by consolidating their control over the team. The psychological impact of contempt and belittlement. The psychological toll of enduring contempt and belittlement can be profound. Victims often experience low self-esteem. Continuous exposure to contemptuous behavior chips away at one's sense of self-worth. Anxiety and depression. The constant fear of judgment and belittlement can lead to chronic stress, anxiety, and depressive symptoms. Difficulty trusting others. After experiencing contempt, victims may struggle to trust their own judgment or the intentions of others. Impaired relationships. The emotional scars from contempt can carry over into other relationships, hindering the ability to form healthy connections. Strategies for recognizing and addressing contempt. Identify the behavior. Recognize contempt for what it is, a deliberate tactic to demean and control. Pay attention to patterns of mocking, sarcasm, dismissiveness, and nonverbal cues like eye-rolling or sneering. Set boundaries. Clearly communicate that such behavior is unacceptable. Establish firm boundaries and reinforce them consistently. For example, respond to a belittling remark by saying, "I don't appreciate being spoken to that way." Seek support. Reach out to trusted friends, family members, or professionals who can provide perspective, validation, and guidance. External support can help counteract the erosion of confidence caused by contempt. Prioritize self-care. Focus on activities and practices that nurture your self-esteem and mental well-being. This might include therapy, mindfulness exercises, journaling, or pursuing hobbies that bring joy and fulfillment. Consider distancing. In cases where contempt and belittlement persist despite efforts to address the behavior, it may be necessary to distance yourself from the toxic individual to protect your mental and emotional health. Your worth is intrinsic and not contingent on the opinions or behaviors of others. Recognizing the signs of contempt and belittlement is the first step in reclaiming your sense of self. Cultivate a mindset of self-respect and refuse to tolerate behaviors that undermine your confidence and well-being. Surround yourself with individuals who uplift, respect, and value you for who you are. Contempt and belittlement are powerful tools of emotional manipulation, but they can be countered with awareness, assertiveness, and self-respect. By recognizing these behaviors and taking proactive steps to address them, you can protect your self-esteem and foster healthier, more empowering relationships. Remember, you deserve to be treated with kindness, dignity, and respect. Embrace your worth and demand the same from those around you. A path to peace, protecting your well-being and cultivating meaningful connections. This concluding section summarizes the key takeaways, emphasizes the importance of awareness and action, and encourages audience engagement and community building. Awareness as liberation, protecting your peace of mind. Awareness is the first step towards liberation from harmful influences and toxic relationships. By recognizing the 10 signs of a toxic or harmful individual that we've discussed in this video, you empower yourself to protect your emotional, mental, and spiritual well-being. This awareness allows you to identify potentially harmful dynamics early on, set healthy boundaries, and make informed choices about the people you surround yourself with. It's important to remember that you have the power to choose who you allow into your life, and that you deserve to be surrounded by individuals who uplift, support, and respect you. Wisdom in action, cultivating empathy, respect, and kindness. True wisdom is not simply about acquiring knowledge. It's about putting that knowledge into action and living in accordance with your values. Recognizing the signs of toxic behavior is only the first step. The next crucial step is to act on that awareness by setting boundaries, distancing yourself from harmful individuals, and cultivating healthy relationships based on empathy, respect, and kindness. Surround yourself with people who uplift you, support your growth, and treat you with compassion. These positive connections are essential for your well-being and contribute to a more fulfilling and meaningful life. At Buddhist Mindfulness, illuminating the path to wisdom and inner peace. At Buddhist Mindfulness, our mission is to illuminate your path to wisdom, inner peace, and a more fulfilling life. We believe that by sharing insights from ancient wisdom traditions and combining them with practical advice and real-life examples, we can empower individuals to navigate life's challenges with greater awareness, compassion, and resilience. We encourage you to connect with our community and share your experiences and insights. If you found value in this video, please like it. Your likes help us reach a wider audience and share this valuable information with more people. Share this video with your friends, family, and social networks. Sharing is a powerful way to spread awareness about toxic behavior and empower others to protect themselves. Subscribe to Buddhist Mindfulness for more enlightening content. By subscribing, you'll stay updated on our latest videos and become part of a growing community of individuals seeking wisdom, mindfulness, and personal growth. Share your stories and insights in the comments below. We believe that sharing our experiences can be a powerful way to learn from each other, offer support, and create a sense of community. We encourage you to share your thoughts, reflections, and any personal experiences you may have related to this topic. Let's learn and grow together on this journey towards greater awareness, compassion, and inner peace. Until next time, may you stay mindful, compassionate, and surrounded by positive and supportive connections.